being in a safe space where men are openly talking about this battle, openly talking about this journey, openly talking about their wins, their resets, the real work of recovering from pornography. And I couldn't believe it. And I still remember I was about 90 days in when I had my first reset. So I was terrified to bring that to the group. I was like, oh, great. I've been doing so good. I was on fire. I'm like, oh, wait, nope. Not doing as good as I thought I was. And I said, guys, I had to reset my tracker to 0. I'm now on day 1. Men were like, okay, well, let's unpack that. Let's figure like what was going on? What was going on emotionally? What triggered the reset? What fell apart in the framework that you're building so you can rebuild that framework and then keep going? I was like, what? This is new. I've never been in a group like this. Okay. Yeah. I can figure out what happened and I can build that part of the framework up to protect myself.
Brothers.
What's up, dude?
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to today's episode of the Recovered Dad podcast. Brothers, great to have you with us here today. Yaden, welcome, my partner in recovery.
Always good to see you, man. Always
Yes,
good to
sir.
see you.
Yes, sir. I feel like it was just yesterday we talked last.
I think that's accurate. Maybe 2 days ago. I don't know. Days kind of blur with 4
Maybe
kids
5 minutes
in the house.
Who knows?
You know.
Whatever the case, we're back and we're happy to be with you here today. And Yaden, what do we got today? We got a juicy one lined up, queued up for the brothers.
You know, I was thinking about this, what to talk about on this episode, and the title of the episode: "Shame Dies When Stories Are Told in Safe Spaces." And that, if you listen to the podcast for any length of time or read our blogs, you get our emails, right? You've heard us say this. This is one of the cornerstones we have found for addiction recovery, is having a safe space where you can share your story, be seen, be visible, bring your authentic self to the table without guilt, fear, shame, or whatever, right? Where you can be who you are without judgment. That's the word, judgment, I was trying to figure out. That is 100% true for addiction. And it is also true for our relationship with our children as fathers, right? And I was thinking about this. So here's some statistics that I've heard. For dads, 80% of our time with our kids happens by the time they're age 12. Age 12.
Wow.
We have, for the whole rest of their life or our life, we only have 20% of our time with them left.
Mm-hmm.
That hits home for me real hard because I have 3 boys who are over the age of 12, 18, 15, 13. My daughter is 10, and I'm thinking like, holy crap, I only have 2 years left for this 80% of the time I'm going to have with her over the course of her life and my life. And building a safe space for our children is a critical piece of being a father. It's a critical piece. So today, talking about how do we create this safe psychological, safe emotional, safe physical space for our kids, and how does that relate to recovery from addiction? Like, what do these have to do, and what do these have in common? What do these have to do with each other? You know, as we would say in the old country, nada que ver. It doesn't have anything to do with each other. What's going on? But I'm going to tie these together in a way that you may not have thought of before.
You know, that's always my question, Yaden.
I know that's always your question. And and my point, and I do have one. I'm getting there. I'm getting to my point. Stay with me. You know, hear me out. So with building these tiers of safety, psychological, emotional, physical safety, building that stuff in our relationship with our kids is, if not one of the most important responsibilities we have as fathers. And what I have learned in recovery has made me a safer dad. I joke with Matt all the time. So I went through when I joined the Liberation Boot Camp, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
4 years ago. And this is my running joke with Matt. It's like, dude, all I wanted to do was get rid of in my life. That is the only thing I was looking for. I didn't realize I was going to become a better man. I didn't know. I mean, it seems obvious in hindsight. It's like, of course, you have to become a better version of yourself to rise above an addiction. But at the time, dude, I was just in pain. I was in the darkness. I was stuck. It's like, this is eating me alive from the inside. And I have to figure out something. And honestly, I didn't even join the program for me. I joined the program so I could figure out how to talk about with my kids.
Yeah.
My kids are the driving, they were the driving force in my recovery.
Yeah.
In the start of my recovery. Now I am the driving force. I'm doing this for me now because I've had a taste of this. And now I can see the best version of myself. And I'm actively working to get there. And I can see the path that's taking me there. Before I was just like, well, I hope I figure this out one day, trying to be better.
Yeah.
You know, maybe next time I won't screw it up.
Yep.
So shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. And I distinctly remember joining the Liberation Boot Camp and then being on these calls, these support calls, these recovery calls during the week, different times. And suddenly I'm in this room with men openly talking about their recovery journey, openly talking about their struggle with pornography addiction. And y'all, I was in youth ministry for a decade. I grew up in the church. Going to Bible studies, going to Thursday morning men's Bible study at 6 a.m. with my dad, going on a men's retreat when I was in youth ministry. That never happened. It never felt like a safe space to talk about pornography when I was growing up because it was so demonized. And y'all, hear me clearly. I'm not saying anything good about pornography, but it can be so vilified, so evilized that it becomes it feels like such a dangerous topic to broach. It's like, man, I've been in men's groups where as safe as they were, I didn't feel safe bringing up my struggle with because I'm looking at all these men who in my mind are like, none of these men have it all figured out. Judgment. Yeah, nobody here could struggle with this. I'm a total pervert. Yeah. I'm gonna be ostracized if I say anything. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly being in a safe space where men are openly talking about this battle, openly talking about this journey, openly talking about their wins, their resets, the real work of recovering from pornography. And I couldn't believe it. And I still remember I was about 90 days in when I had my first reset, right? Because y'all, recovery is a journey.
Yeah.
Nobody goes from 0 to 100 in their first step. Mm-hmm. It's a journey of one day after another, doing the work. So, and I was terrified to bring that to the group. I was like, oh, great. I've been doing so good. I was on fire. I'm like, oh, wait, nope. Yep. Not doing as good as I thought I was. And I said, guys, I had to reset my tracker to 0 days. I'm now on day 1.
Yep.
And my worst fears didn't come true. Nothing happened. Well, something happened. Men were like, okay, well, let's unpack that. Let's work through the reset doc, the 0 day doc. Let's put on a detective hat, right? And let's figure what was going on. What was going on with work, what was going on with the family, what was going on emotionally to try and identify. It's like, okay, what triggered the reset? What fell apart in the framework that you're building so you can rebuild that framework and then keep going. I was like, what? This is new.
Yep.
I've never been in a group like this. Like, okay, yeah. I can figure out what happened. And I can build that part of the framework up to protect myself. If you listened last week, we were talking about, software and accountability software. It's like I can figure out what piece of my framework failed and I can fix that.
Yep.
Instead of feeling like I'm broken, never going to fix myself, I'm always going to be like this. It's like, oh, yeah, I can fix that. There's a hole in my fence. I can patch that up.
Yep.
And there was no hiding with these men. with the men in the boot camps. Like everybody was open and authentic and honest. Because not only for men with pornography, wherever there is shame, we tend to hide. Men, when we notice shame, we tend to hide, we tend to withdraw, we tend to pull back as a protection mechanism, honestly. And y'all, our kids are no different. When our kids identify there is a risk of shame here, or even if they feel like there's a risk of shame, their instinct is to hide. Mm-hmm. Men with kids with their dad, right? It's like, think about, well, I can't tell you how many times me and my brother were going at it, something, and somebody, I'm the oldest of 4 kids, so I was the stronger one. And, one of my brothers would get hurt. I'm like, oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. No. Don't tell dad. Don't tell mom. No, you're good. You're good. You're okay. Right? Like that, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm ashamed. I'm going to get in trouble. And my instinct was to hide.
Potential for a negative outcome, a negative consequence. Yeah. Right.
Negative consequence incoming.
Right.
Right. And y'all, with our kids, there's no difference. There's no difference. When our kids feel like there's a potential for shame here, they're going to, that internal protective self-protection mechanism kicks in, right? How many times, stop me if you've heard this one. Don't stop me if you heard it, because it's good anyway, right? The classic parent trap. I just want you to tell me the truth. You're not going to get in trouble. I just want to know the truth, right? Every kid can easily identify that as this is a trap, right? Like the Star Wars, it's a trap.
Yeah.
Admiral Akbar, like, it's a trap. Like, kids don't walk into that trap. I mean, they might walk into it once. And they never will again. They're like, oh, if I tell the truth, like, my dad loses it.
Right.
Not doing that again.
Right.
So when kids can sense the shame, when they feel like when they feel like there's going to be shame, fear, judgment, guilt, they're no different than us as dads. They protect themselves. Yep. They hide. And it's on us as fathers to proactively build this safe psychological, emotional, and physical space. Because think about this. Think about this for a minute, right? So I'm 45. I am a soft 6 foot. If I'm wearing, thick-soled shoes, if I'm wearing my running shoes, I'm a soft 6 foot. My family will never let me say I'm 6 feet tall. They say, no, Dad, you're not 6 feet tall. I'm like, well, I'm close. All right. I'm close. But almost, I'm 5'11", 190 pounds, lift weights, run marathons. Like I am strong. And in my house, I am the big silverback gorilla, right? I am the biggest, baddest beast in the house. Physically, my sons are 18 and 15. They're still not as strong as I am because they haven't been lifting weights as long. I can still take them, and they know it. Think about an 8-year-old and just the size difference between an 8-year-old and a grown man. Think about what it would feel like if you as a grown man had to talk to someone who's 10 feet tall.
Yep.
Built like the Hulk. That would be intimidating.
Yep.
Even if the Hulk in this analogy would never hurt you. Right? Me as a dad, I know it's like I would give my life for my kids. I would never want to hurt them. I would never want to do anything damaging to them. I know that. But do they know that? And see, it's not enough for us to just like, oh yeah, I love my kids. I'm safe. Like, well, it's not enough for you to know you're safe. Your kids have to know that you're safe. And here's how this all ties in together, okay? Your kids give you opportunities to create this safe psychological space. When they're having an emotional blowout, when they're lost their cool, when they're emotionally dysregulated, when they're upset about something, when something traumatic happens, small or big, right? Doesn't have to, it could be, well, like my 18-year-old son, a couple weeks ago. He got bumped in the parking lot by another car. His car got bumped. He didn't actually get bumped. His car got bumped. And with what I know now, it's like, okay, this is an opportunity to show up for my son with strength and solidarity, with peace and power. There's a reason why we end episodes often with peace and power.
Yep.
Because when my kids have something happen, emotionally flooded, emotional explosion, angry outburst, this is my opportunity to teach them. Not teach them a lesson, right? I'm going to teach you a lesson. No, I'm not talking about that. But I am teaching them a lesson. I'm teaching them, is dad safe? Can I trust my dad with my emotions?
Yep.
Can I trust my father with what's really going on in my life without guilt, fear, shame, or judgment? I'll give you a hardcore example. Well, maybe not hardcore example. That's not the exact appropriate term to use on a podcast, but my oldest son is 18. When he was 14, I come home, I get home end of the day one time. He's like, Dad, I'm going to get my ears pierced. I was like, internally, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Now, the backstory is I grew up in a cult, and, I grew up in a time where in the church, if a guy had an earring, basically, if you have an earring as a guy, the mindset was you're going straight to hell, right? Different time. I'm not saying that's how it is. My son's like, I want to get earrings. I'm like, okay, tell me more. Like, what okay? Like, tell me about this. I said, yeah, I'm just, gonna get them pierced and get some studs. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I think about this. And I was having a hard time.
Yeah.
And when he asked me directly, he's like, Dad, like, what do you think? I was like, dude, I don't really know. I don't really know. Because when I was 14, I didn't even have the option to consider getting earrings. Now, honestly, I don't think I would look good with earrings, but if I thought I would look good with earrings, I would probably get them. I told him, like, I never even had the choice of, I think I want to get earrings. It wasn't even a possibility for where I was in life. And I told him, but I will tell you one thing, bro. I mean, I told him, like, honestly, like, dude, I'm nervous that, somebody's going to see you with earrings and make a judgment about who you are before they get to know you. I mean, that was an honest fear. And then I told him, it's like, but I'll tell you what, if you get earrings and that happens, whoever is in your face about earrings will suddenly find a very big, very aggressive dad in their face, telling them to back off. And now my son has, I don't know, he has a nose ring. He has 2 earrings here, earring up here, earring over here, right? He got his first tattoo a month after he turned 18. It's like, bro, if he grew up in the time I grew up, oh my gosh, he'd be the black sheep of the family. But that was an opportunity for me to maintain my emotional composure, to respond to my son instead of react. And it doesn't have to be something with earrings. It could be something with, hey, time to clean your room. I don't want to clean my room. Like, well, what are you going to do next, Dad? Are you going to drop the proverbial hammer like I would have years ago? It's like, fine, I'll clean your room. And I'm going to clean your room with a freaking trash bag. I'm going to just pick up all your stuff, put it in the trash bag. Since you don't care about it, you don't need all this crap. And you can find it in the trash can outside. Don't tell me you haven't thought of that out there, Dad, because I know how it goes. That is definitely a thought. It's like, fine, I'm just going to throw all your crap away. When we react with our emotional outburst, when we cannot maintain our own emotional peace, and that spills over onto our kids, we are teaching them that their emotions are not safe with us. That's what we're teaching them. And in recovery, right? When our emotions get all riled up, when we're feeling the pain, right? I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. I wasn't comfortable with my own emotions myself. I was reaching for that pain pill so I could manage my own chaotic, painful, uncomfortable emotions, right? Of course I couldn't handle my children's emotions. I couldn't handle my own. And that is what I'm talking about today. To really create the safe psychological space, the safe emotional space. As fathers, we have to do the work on ourselves first. I remember reading a line, I can't remember where I read it, but it burned itself into my brain. It said, when we as parents realize that our reaction to our children has more to do with our emotional state than what's actually happening, that's when we realize that our own emotional health is the single most important thing we can do as parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my son, who's 13, I'm gonna be real vulnerable now. My son, who's 13, has a scar on his upper lip because, gosh, maybe 7 years ago, I was sitting right here in my desk. I was on the phone doing residential real estate at the time. You know, I was on a phone call, talking with the seller, talking with the buyer, trying to negotiate something to get a deal to close so I could pay our bills, pay our mortgage, buy food, put gas in the car, right? Push our life forward. I was doing my work. My kids are out right outside the office in the drive, like tearing it up, yelling. My son, who was 6, 7, 8 at the time, busts into the garage right through my office door, yelling his head off. I quickly excuse me, I'll call you right back. I get off the phone. I was in a rage. I was stressed out from on this call, trying to negotiate somebody who wasn't being reasonable, most likely. Open the door, tell my son, I probably just said, shut up. Be quiet. Massive aggressive dad voice, emotional intensity, hitting him right in the face. And he's like this tall to me. And he yelled back. And so I shoved him out the drive. I just pushed him out the door. Not hard, but unexpected. And his foot caught on the door thing, and he tripped. He got a bloody lip. And it still breaks my heart when I look at him. He was just with me today, working, doing some painting work. So when I tell you, Dad, that working on your own capacity to sit with these uncomfortable emotions is the most important work, this is not hyperbole. I am not overstating this case. This is the work. Working on your own emotional resiliency. And that's how it ties into recovery, because when we build up our own emotional resiliency, we can increase our capacity to stick with the uncomfortable feelings, the uncomfortable thoughts without reacting. Not only not reacting by reaching for the pill of, but not reacting with the ones we hold the most dear, who so often are at the receiving end of such aggression, right? So every time our kids have an episode, every time our kids are upset, losing their cool, that's an opportunity for us as fathers to teach them a lesson. It's going to happen. A lesson is going to be learned one way or the other. The lesson is going to be, my dad is safe. My dad can handle it when I'm not okay. Or my dad can't handle it. And in order to protect my relationship with my dad, I have to keep this piece of me from him. Yep. Oh man, I got to take a few deep breaths because I'm feeling all the feels now with my own kids and all the mistakes that I've made over 18 and a half years of being a dad. So fathers out there, this is my exhortation, my implorification. I don't think that's a real word, by the way. My request, my encouragement, my ask, find a safe space where your shame can die. Maybe it's a local group that you can plug into. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's the Liberation Boot Camp. Maybe it's a recovery program like what we have. But man, I'm telling you, whatever it takes, it is worth it. And the clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
The clock is ticking. I didn't start figuring this stuff out until about 4 years ago. My oldest son was 14 at the time, and 80% of my time with him was already gone. Was already gone by the time I started to learn this stuff. I know it's not too late, but I have a lot of sadness, as you might be able to tell from my voice. I have a lot of sadness that it took me so long to figure this out. And my prayer for you out there listening is that you learn it faster than I did. You learn it faster than I did so that you can proactively and intentionally create that safe psychological space. Because what dad doesn't want to be their son or daughter's 2 a.m. phone call when they're in the shit? Nobody. It's like if my son is having an issue and he's somewhere at 1 a.m. and he's at a party or something and the punches spiked, or even not, they're just drinking. He's like, oh my God, I'm drunk. Like, I want him to call me so I can be there for him. But that doesn't happen without intentionally creating that safe psychological space over the course of years, over the course of showing up without reaction, showing up with a response, with cool, calm collectedness, with strength and stability, with peace and power. And for men who are struggling with the thing, Matt and I, we both been there. I still have to fight the battle. We're still in the trenches fighting this on a daily basis with our active recovery. And I just lost my train of thought, but you guys can see where I'm going with this. We have to do the work on ourselves so we can have peace and power internally so that we can create this safe psychological, safe emotional space for our children. Yep. So that when they're 25 and something goes sideways, I'm going to get the call. Like, Dad, I need help. Like, say when and where, and I'm going to be there with no fear, with no judgment, with no shit. I might not be able to protect them from natural consequences, right? If they crashed their car into a tree, like, bro, I'm sorry you totaled your car. That's tough. Yep. I mean, I'm not just going to write you a check for 10 grand so you can go buy another one. Now you got to figure this out. But there's not going to be, like, I can't protect you from that. But I can hold this safe psychological, safe emotional space for you. So that's my story. That's my message for this week. It's like the only way we can create safe psychological space for our kids is when we have our own internal safe emotional space, safe psychological space. And honestly, that only comes when we can share our story as dads, as men, around this pornography recovery journey in a safe place. So men out there listening, find a safe space. Matt, yeah, bro.
No, just saying, great work, brother. Great share. Appreciate the authenticity, the vulnerability, the emotions, and appreciate you bringing your story to the conversation today, brother. Brother, for those who are tuning in, who's connected and related with this podcast, thank you for joining us here today. We want to invite you to check us out at therecovereddad.com. You can learn more about what we're up to as a community, learn more about the skills and the daily practices and what active recovery looks like for us as a community, get into a community of other men where you can learn to relate so the shame can die as you share in safe places. Brothers, thanks so much for being here today. recovereddad.com.
One more thing, Matt, before we totally wrap. Man, if you're out there listening, if you want to talk, find me on Instagram, Recovered Dad. Shoot me a DM. If you're out there thinking, Holy crap. That's me. I'm going to talk. I need someone to talk to. Shoot me a message on Instagram. Recovered Dad is my Instagram handle. Shoot me a message. I read all the messages. You'll get a response from me, I promise.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And now, where do they find us online, Matt? Back to you in the studio.
Recoverdad.com. TheRecoveredDad.com.
Thanks for tuning in, man.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you, Yaden. Peace. Power.
Noble men.